4 buildings. Can you give me some idea of kind of the layout in those buildings? Where's the Real Foods? How much of this is residential? How much is
I will
space?
just shout over here if you don't mind. So I guess that's the most appropriate way to do this. So building 1 here we see as the residential aspect. So the first 2 floors of this building are going to be dedicated to the community space I spoke about. The community center with demonstration areas for individuals out within the Zenebuki Village and in the Boise City area to hold cooking classes, etc. So cooking classes, pottery classes, anything artistic essentially. The second floor will be the teen collaborative working space that I identified before. And then the upper floors, it's a tiered structure, but the upper floors 3 through 6, or 4 through 6, excuse me, will be BSU student housing. On the back, on buildings 4 and 3, and I don't know why I'm going out of order, but I just am. So we have these are the high-rise complexes. They rise to 8 stories in the middle. And on the upper floors, there will be residential condominiums. These are the more upscale architecture. On the second floor of this building, there will be retail space. The second floor specifically we thought would be a good idea for healthcare because everyone we spoke to said that healthcare is still really strong right now, even in this depressed economy. Meanwhile, the first floor we thought a variety of other retailers that would want to be associated with Whole Foods would come in there. Perhaps we thought nightclubs, electronics store, there isn't really anything around there right now. Local restaurants, etc., other entities of that sort. And then building 3 will feature Whole Foods on the first and second floors, which seems a little strange, but they have already opened a 2-story store in California, so we know they're willing to do it. And then again, residential up top. And then finally, in building 1, we plan to dedicate the bottom floor. 1/3 of it will be dedicated to a community art gallery, so BSU students can show their art. Another 1/3 will be dedicated to indoor bike storage because sustainability is another important part of our program. And then we thought that the last part of the ground level could be dedicated as a new home for the SBA. Since this is going to be a hotbed of entrepreneurial ideas, it makes sense for them to be, in the epicenter of that. So that's sort of a
How many square feet? I didn't ever see that.
square feet. So each floor plate we calculated is approximately 25,000 square feet. And so on this building, on these 2 buildings, you're going to have an average of 5 floors. So these are going to each be 125,000 square feet apiece. Meanwhile, in these buildings, same floor plate of 25,000 approximately again. And these have an average of 8 floors, and so that would be 200,000 square feet. So a total of 650,000 square feet.
Can you talk a little bit about the grounds and pedestrian flow?
Yeah. So the open space in the center?
And around it?
Okay. So our idea for this is the circular layout. We thought it was important to make an environment that was inclusive but not exclusive. So the circular aspect emphasizes the community feel, but then the gaps provide increased flow, walkability, and invite the community in to explore it. We imagine this will just be grass or some sort of xeriscaping, and then in the center we have a labyrinth, which is essentially it's a way for people to find meaning. I borrowed the reference from Daniel Pink, who's emphasized. He really explores what the creative class wants. The creative class we're trying to attract both to this establishment and to the city of Boise. He says that labyrinths provide a way for people to find solace and meaning in their lives. And so we thought that would be a nice artistic way to incorporate it. Overarching the entire community space, we plan to have an expansive piece of public art. We haven't, obviously, all art's unique, but we have some ideas on what that could look like over here, kind of connecting the entire space. As for the outside the complex, we are going to have a community garden in this upper left corner, again emphasizing sustainability as well as the community environment. And then in the bottom right corner, it's not that we just decided we didn't want to ruin the design. Rather, we saw this as a temporary green space until mass transit is developed in Boise. Obviously, this is one of the busiest intersections in the state, let alone the city. And so we saw that as an ideal opportunity going forward when we develop maybe high-speed rail or whatever that may be. Sir?
Your bridge over the top, Mark Rivers and others have been trying to get a bridge over the absolute busiest intersection in the state of Idaho, right at the Grove Hotel for 15 years. Can't get it done because it's a state highway. How much did you check into that before you just plopped that bridge over the top
Well,
there?
we actually, it's not actually, well, perhaps over the Grove it may be a state highway, but we actually called the Idaho Department of Transportation to see what they said, and I asked them, well, what would you object to this? And of course they're kind of confused by the proposal, but what they told us, what they told us was that this isn't our jurisdiction, so perhaps Front and Myrtle are different. This is an ACHD's jurisdiction, so we presume that it would be much easier to work with them. So
You haven't really dove that deep into it. You didn't get a good answer.
we didn't get an answer from ACHD.
How many people will live in these units?
So for the Boise State residential part of it, we plan to follow the layout of the suites. I don't know if you're familiar with the university suites. It's basically 1,000 square foot units and then 4 people per unit. And so in this complex, let's see if you do the math there. 1,000 square feet, 4 units. There are approximately 18 units per floor, average of 3 floors. What is that? 216 people for building 1. In this, we're going to have a similar layout, although perhaps not as dense a development. And so maybe instead of cramming all these apartment people into 4 per unit, we'd have just maybe 1 or 2. And so that's going to be around 108 people. And then for the condos, we imagine that it'd be closer on average to 1,500 to 2,000 square feet because it's kind of catering to a more upper scale flat market. And so I believe, as we calculate, there are approximately 168 units that will be in each of these buildings. So depending on whether these are occupied by single or so, approximately. So on the top we'll have approximately 168 units total, and so maybe 300 in the top, depending again on what families occupy them. Adding that to 216, so roughly 600, 650.
And those who are still insensitive to the environment bring cars. Where do they put them?
The cars, so as I mentioned, Capital City Development Corporation does sponsor parking garages. We plan to build a 6 or 7 story parking garage right here, and this is built using the same specifications that Capital City uses on their, the same dimensions at least. Capital City is used on the Eastman garage, and the Capital City, or the Terrace, forget the name of that one, sorry. And we estimated the cost using $18,000 per stall, and that figure was provided to us by Mike Hall from the CCDC. And so that's where they'll have approximately 400 stalls. And again, the bike storage if they want to become less auto-centric, which we hope they will. Sir?
Curious, why the name?
Why the name? Well, we wanted to come up with something that was distinctive, and we really wanted to emphasize that Zenebuki is what you make it. Obviously, it's a nonsense word, but that's why we came up with the slogan. It's defined by the community, a community defined by the community. So it doesn't have a name yet, and we're not trying to prescribe the behavior that is acceptable there. Rather, it is going to be defined by the community itself, and we wanted to leave it open to interpretation in that way, along with providing a really fun word to say, let's be honest.
Thank you.
One question, Jeff, is there any role that the city of Boise plays in this other than through CCDC, building garage at the university? You've got Whole Foods. Any role does the city playing in this?
I think the most important role that the city could play going forward is to adopt more initiatives that encourage this kind of building. Every person we spoke with stressed, it's great. We want to have this unique architecture. We want to have sustainable architecture, but it doesn't pencil. We kept on hearing it just doesn't pencil because there's no incentive to do it. And the Boise market doesn't command a premium for, if you live in a sustainable building, you might get $1 more per square foot, according to Scott Shaner, again, who we spoke with. So perhaps a way the city of Boise could help, in addition to easing the entire,
It's called time, sorry.
Your answer, that's fine. Thank you.